In this video tutorial, we're going to create a rim that looks like a wheel for a car. Okay, so the metal part, the part with the holes for the lug nuts, the part that might have some openings in it, creating kind of a spoked look so the brakes get air, that sort of stuff, and it would hold the tire on and make sure it doesn't pop off. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start by creating a revolve so that the face of the rim faces the front view. In order to do that, we're going to draw it from the side. Okay, so I'm going to pick the right side plane, spin it over to the right side, and start a sketch. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to back up some. I'm going to use my control and my scroll mouse wheel to kind of pan this down a little bit because I am going to start from the origin, kind of working my way up. The first thing I'm going to do actually is create two construction lines. So I'm going to get my line tool, turn them to construction lines. The first one's going to go from the origin straight up. As long as you hit about 200 millimeters, you got plenty of construction line there. The other one, I am going to go from the origin to the left, staying lined up, staying horizontal. You can see the little icon telling me I'm doing that. And I'm going to draw that straight across through the origin, which should also can create a fully defined construction line. And again, the size of those, it doesn't really matter. You want to make sure, though, that you do have plenty of space. All right, now we're going to draw half of the car rim shape, because what we're going to end up with is going to kind of look like a weird shaped Y. So we're going to draw the left half. So I'm going to get my line tool, regular line tools, not construction. And I'm going to start on the midline, the center line that's vertical. Okay, somewhere in here-ish, draw straight out, straight up, back in slightly, straight up for a long period of time. I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit and pan up, draw it nice and long. I'm going to draw straight out, up at an angle, over, and if it adds the perpendicular, that's the one that looks like an upside down T with a box in it. That's fine. Back, and again, if we add perpendicular, that's fine. I don't know about the vertical to that, so I'm going to stop a little early. And then I'm going to draw back to the center line, a horizontal line. So those are my lines to start with. So I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to add I want to add a relationship real quick. So I'm going to grab this line. I'm going to grab this line, and I want to make them parallel. That's this one. Make sure it's not the equals one. Make sure it's parallel so that those stay parallel. If you didn't have the perpendiculars ones here, that should fix that. Okay, and these are both horizontal, so they're automatically parallel. All of that is fine. So I'm going to start adding some dimensions. I'm going to start from the bottom up. So my first dimension is from here to the bottom. This is kind of that open part of the wheel where the hub would come through. It's 30 millimeters. Here we go here. This is also 30. We're going to go back 5 millimeters. This line is 100 millimeters. This line here is 20. And cool little trick, from this line, if I click then my center construction line, I can either tell it the distance to be from the construction line, or since I know I'm going to mirror that line. That's why this line is here, is because I'm going to create a mirror. If I drag to the other side, it'll actually tell me the total distance, which is actually what I'm going to use, and this is 10 millimeters. From here to here is 10 millimeters. From here to there, it's also 10 millimeters. Now from this line to this line, oh, sorry, I actually found out that I have to do that backwards. So I want to keep this angle, and I actually know that I want a 120-degree angle. So I'm going to click those two lines, because right now they're not parallel. Set them at 120. Now I should be able to change this to 10, and it'll kind of maintain what we got going on. The last dimension is what I'm going to add that will end up disappearing, but that's okay, is this line here at 25. But currently I'm all fully defined. Now, if you were to actually look at a rim from this distance, you would actually notice that this is not a square edge up here where it meets the tire. It's actually a partial circle, okay? So we are going to put that circle in and do a little splitting and trimming. You've never seen the splitting tool before, so that'll be new. So I'm going to get a center point circle. I'm going to go to the middle of this line. I'm going to get a midpoint relationship. I'm going to bring this out, and I am going to dimension it at 15. Next set of steps, the order is really, really important. So the first tool I'm going to use is trim. And I am going to get rid of part of the circle. Now, if you notice, the top of this rectangular angled piece right here actually helps me locate my circle. So while I don't want it to be, I don't want these to be regular lines, I also don't want to get rid of them. I just want to turn them into something that doesn't interrupt my, my sketch really. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually get a different tool out that's called split. And what happens is if I go up this line and I go right to where this intersection happens and I click, excuse me, it actually split my line into two lines. Got the lower line now and the upper line. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come up this line to where it starts. I'm going to click to split those, and that's great. So if I get rid of this tool, you'll see I can now select this as a line or that as a line. But really what I want to select is I want to select these three lines. So the little segment I made there, segment I made there, and the part that connects the top. And instead of trimming them out or deleting them, I'm going to just make them construction lines. Okay, now they're still there, and they can be used for measurements and stuff. So I know it did go from being fully defined to being underdefined. The only thing I need to add is a measurement of this line right here. So everybody knows kind of where that starts and stops. You don't need to change it. It'll say 19.4 or something or other. And that's fine. We already know that from this endpoint to where this line happens in the middle, that's 25. Okay? I should have everything fully defined. When you're going to use a mirror in a sketch, you really want to define everything that is going to be copied. That way you can, it's fully defined when it goes to the other side. So here's a cool little trick. I think when we've seen the mirror tool before in this case, we've selected all the things, then clicked the mirror tool. One of the other ways you can do it is actually the exact reverse. So I can click the mirror tool. It'll tell me to pick a mirror line, and I'm going to grab this vertical center line right here. And now I can click on the stuff to mirror. So I can pick the exact things I need to mirror. So I don't need actually those construction lines there. I can mirror that. So all the lines at the top, this one here, and I'm actually only going to mirror this line right down here, okay? Because we're not going to have, this hub is only going to stick out towards the outside. I'm going to go ahead and finish my mirror tool there. The other tool that's under, so we've used trim, we've used split, now we're going to use extend. So if I click extend, I'm going to click this line, and I'm going to extend it all the way down to this line. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to trim, and I'm going to get rid of the excess. Now what it seems to do is it leaves these little points, and you can see that they're hollow points. So if I click on it and I push delete, they should go away. If they don't, that's okay too. But right now I have a fully defined sketch, and this is the basis of my rim. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to the 3D. I'm going to accept that. Go back to my 3D view. I'm going to click revolve. The face that I want to do is sketch 1. My revolve axis is this horizontal line right here, and it's going to create a wheel. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that as the wheel rim base. Next, we're going to cut a bunch of features into it. And there we go. Now we've got it. Okay, if we rotate around a little bit, you can kind of see what it looks like, get the idea of, okay, yeah, it does kind of look like a wheel. If you've ever helped with replace a car tire or seen a rim without a tire on it, that's what it looks like. If you had a bike tire where you've done it too, you've seen kind of some similar features. So that looks pretty good. It's easy to get lost weirdly on that. So that is our rim base. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the holes in it that you would put the lugs through. The lugs and the lug nuts are the studs and the bolts that we use to actually attach the wheel to the hub that rotates. So we're going to go onto the front view. We're going to zoom in kind of on this hub center section. That's where the lug holes are going to go. We're going to click on that, and we're going to start our sketch. I'm going to grab a circle, and I'm going to come straight vertical from the origin and put the center of the circle there and try to be about in the middle-ish. Okay, now when I dimension this, or before I dimension this, sorry, I'm going to grab my line tool, change to construction, and I'm going to draw a construction line from the center to the origin. It's just way easier that way to dimension everything. The diameter of the circle becomes 10. The length of the construction line, or basically from the center to the origin, becomes 45. Put the center of the circle halfway between the two edges of this hub plate. Pretty easy there. I'm just going to accept that. Extrude. Remove. Sketch 2 is what I want to use. And my type is through all. And I'm going to click merge with all just because sometimes that'll fix things that you didn't expect to be a problem. And when I click the name, this is the lug hole. Okay, the hole that the lug stud comes through. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. So now I've got a hole. If you've ever looked at a rim, though, where those holes go in, there's a little bit of a recess or a little part cut in that's larger than the hole itself. It's for the nut to kind of sit in there, make sure it binds to things. Kind of looks nice too. So we're going to do that, create that lug recess. Real easy. Same surface, click on it, click sketch, click a circle again. Nice part is, since I already have a hole here, I can use the center of this hole to line it up. The other nice part is if I was to make a change, these two holes would kind of move together. That's why I like doing this as a second step. And then the diameter of this is 18. I'm going to accept that. I'm then going to select it, extrude, remove. Our distance is going to be 4 millimeters. Merge with all. And we'll go ahead and accept it. And if I go to look at it at an angled way, you can see it's just recessed somewhat, and then the hole goes the rest of the way through. Now, if I was to put 5, now you're not going to put this on with one bolt. You're going to have 5 or 6 different bolts around here, usually equally spaced in a pattern. That's exactly what we're going to create. And we're going to use a really cool tool to do that that's called circular pattern. So linear pattern is here. It looks like a stack of blocks. If I drop this down, circular pattern, which kind of looks like a little simple solar system here, is the one that we want to use. So here's what we're going to do. First off, it wants to do it with parts. We don't really do this with parts ever. It's not a good idea unless you're using some big assembly thing. We want to do this with features. So the features that we want to pattern, excuse me, I'm going to stop that real quick because I did not label my extrude and I'm going to get confused. So this was our lug recess where we recessed it back. Sorry. Now we're going to start a circular pattern. Now we're going to switch to features. Now the features we want are both the lug hole and the lug recess. Axis of pattern. Now what we want is an axis that basically goes straight through, just like where we revolved. So what you might need to do is go back to sketch 1 and click the show button so that you can click on that axis right here. Okay, oh, we don't want that. We actually have to get into the axis, and now we click that. If you notice, I now have 4 holes equally spaced. These rims will usually have 5 or 6. This is a smaller one, so we're going to go with 5. Okay, and as you might imagine, if we look at it from the front and zoom in, this would have been pretty difficult having to like set up lines, set up like what is the actual degree measurement from here to there, put those all in, put in the recesses again. Like this is a way more simple way to create this when it has some sort of circular pattern. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and rename it the lug pattern. We know that's what does our lug nuts. Again, equally spaced around all 360 degrees. There we go. So now we've got those. The next thing we want to do is this backing plate right here is solid. Okay, it would not be solid. We would have some stuff cut through this. Again, we want air to circulate around the brakes and the hub. We also want it to look cool. So this is where we're going to get into creating a shape. So I'm going to go to the front. I'm going to click on that surface there. And I'm going to go ahead and start a sketch and zoom in so that the origin is kind of near the bottom of the screen and I still see the angled surface here. I want to be able to see both. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my line tool and I'm going to switch to construction and I'm going to draw a construction line from the origin all the way up to where it touches the circle. Okay, there's my construction line. And now I'm going to draw a regular line like this-ish. Okay, well within that surface, just a kind of a slanted line. All right, that's what you're going to draw for now. We will be making some adjustments to that. The next thing I need is I need to go to my arcs and I need a tangent arc. So what I want to do is I want to start from the top of this. I want to go over to the line and I do want it to be, I was trying to get like a 90-degree type of arc where the center of the arc was also on the construction line, but I can actually make that happen here in a few minutes with some relationship adding. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that in for now. And I'm going to get the tool again and I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Okay, next, add some relationships. So if I click the center and the line and add coincident, that'll change. Center, line, coincident again. Okay, now the cool part is after you add those relationships, you should be able to move stuff around and maintain the relationship. So if like mine, yours kind of went off the screen weird, you can go ahead and just move those around. So the next thing we're going to add is some dimensions. So I'm going to click this point, the point where that meets, 7 millimeters. Same thing on the bottom. The end point there, the point where that meets, also 7 millimeters. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click this line right here, and I'm going to set that at 60 millimeters. You'll see the shape changes. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to document the radius here. So I'm just going to click on it and click again. Okay. What radius do you actually get? Like, that's okay. Actually, I think I can set this to make everything okay. I can. So I'm sorry, this radius needs to be set at 18. Okay. So you get a shape something like this. As you might have guessed, we're going to use our mirror tool again. I'm going to go, this time it's only 3 things, so I'm going to go ahead and select them first. Click mirror. And my center line is here. Oh, wow. I messed that up. So we're going to undo that. And this time I'm just going to click mirror. Pick my mirror line. and mirror the 3 parts that I want. So I have that enclosed little upside down teardrop type shape. Extrude, I'm going to do a remove. The sketch that I want is sketch 4. Again, we're going through all. This one I am going to call the spoke hole. We kind of create the spoke pattern. And that's good. The next thing I'm going to do, I don't need a sketch 4 because it is a chamfer. This is going to be the spoke chamfer. I want to make sure tangential propagation, I know it's a big set of words, but make sure that is clicked. Distance should be set to 5 millimeters, equal different distance, it's exactly right. I'm going to click one of the lines here, and it should chamfer the entire spoke hole. And that's exactly what I wanted. The next thing, as you might imagine, is to go ahead and swing this around so we can see the whole thing to do our circular pattern. So I'm going to grab the circular pattern tool. I'm going to make sure it's feature pattern. I am going to pick the feature as both the spoke hole and the spoke chamfer. The axis is going to be that same axis that's been showing. And this time I'm going to kick this up to, I believe 10 is what looks the best. We're going to go with 10. And this is our spoke pattern. That gets us our spoke holes. And now we're starting to really look like the rim of a car. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to use our fillet tools to round some stuff over before we apply material and all that. Now I am done using sketch 1. So I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. Literally what I'm going to do next is I have about 3 fillets that I'm going to add to different parts of my rim. So I can also, personally, I think with this one, the planes are kind of really obviously in the way. So that's why I'm just going to close those real quick. All right. The first fillet I'm going to set up, I'm going to pick fillet, and I'm going to leave it as 5 millimeters. And I'm going to look where the tire goes. If you see this surface right here where the tire goes, I'm going to click that surface, which will put a 5 millimeter fillet on both sides of it where it meets it starting to come up. Okay, that would be a fillet like that. If you had a square corner like that in aluminum, which is likely what this is made out of, you would actually have a part where it would break off. So we're going to round that to make it stronger. Okay. And in this case, I'm not actually going to label them as a certain feature, but this is a 5 millimeter fillet. So that's my 5 millimeter fillet. So fillet 5 mm. Leave that. Okay. My next one is a smaller one to break over some of these, again, these straight corners. So I'm going to pick fillet. I am going to change it to 2 millimeters. There's a lot I'm going to click on. So as I come down here, I'm going to click on this edge, that edge, and this inner edge right here, that outer edge right there. So I could have just clicked that surface, but in this case, I grabbed both of those. I'm also going to grab this edge right here, and I'm going to use my arrow keys to swing around and grab that same edge on the other side. Okay, and again, I'm going to label this as fillet 2 mm, so the 2 millimeter fillet, and accept. The last one I am going to do on 2 surfaces that I'm going to have to go front to back. So you have this hard corner right here. It would not be a hard corner like that. That would be much more of a smooth transition. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. I hope everybody sees that we're doing this at the end after we've made all those features, because we use some of these edges to measure different features from, which would have been harder if we filleted them earlier. That's why we're doing this at the end. So the 2 entities I want is this edge right here and this edge right here. Okay, these were where that Y kind of poked out. All right, and this one is a 20mm fillet. We really want to round those edges. So again, we're going to go ahead and label the name 20mm. It's just those two edges. So like I said, now we've got a fairly smooth transition across. We've got a nice shape to it. We've got a very realistic shape to it. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to my 3D view. I'm going to hold Control and scoot it over a little bit because now it's time to get it ready for the screenshot. I'm going to go ahead and label my part 1, rename that wheel rim. As you know, we probably wouldn't just have this. We might be designing a whole car that we're going to then put 4 of these wheel rims on. I am going to go to Assign Material. What I want to do is where it says none, I'm going to start typing aluminum. If you get ALUM in, you can probably start to scroll. And you can see there's many different types of aluminum, and the aluminum that you're looking for is 7075. Okay, this is a specific mixture of aluminum and some other things. Okay, aluminum 775 is what you want. Okay, so we'll accept that. I don't like that this is blue, so I'm going to go to Edit Appearance and pick that nice silvery gray color. All right, doesn't matter because in my screenshot it's going to be orange anyway. When you highlight it and you click Mask Properties, that's what should be showing, and you've got your number here in grams. Okay, there's your screenshot that you're going to take to turn in, and congratulations on making a realistic looking tire rim that would go on a car.